He's written and produced over 30 plays, staged both locally and overseas, and many of which have won awards. But it was a chance encounter as an impromptu extra that led to a life in theatre. So how did he seize the day, survive the pitfalls, and find his niche? I am Archibald Gordon. Basil Dawkins is my guest, and this is Profile. Basil Dawkins, welcome to Profile.
My pleasure.
So, in many of the interviews that you've done, you strike me as very, very open, very willing to share your story. And this is quite at odds with the kind of young man you say you grew up as, which was really, really shy. What was so shy about you?
Well, I wouldn't describe myself as shy. I describe myself as dark. Country people, when somebody come to the house, you go around the back. That was the type of child I was coming up. And my mother was a little concerned about it. And she kind of sowed the seed about my getting involved with theatre so that I would get out of myself and get a little more extroverted. I don't know if it worked. I don't even think I'm comfortable even at this stage to be in front of audiences and so on, though I have to.
So we're going to get a little bit about how you started to get in front of audiences, but part of this, what you call darkness or shyness, is a term I will use, is just the fact that you were moving around a lot as a youngster.
Yeah, part of my upbringing involved born in Portland, go to primary school in Manchester, high school in Savlamar, just wherever my mother was transferred to, that's where I ended. And part of that was not being able to develop any strong roots anywhere. So maybe that contributed to the shyness. I'm not sure. However, I soon learned that not to make close, deep friends, because the moment you get attached to them is soon after you'll be having to make a next set of friends again somewhere else. So
why were you moving around so much?
My mother, she was a social welfare officer, then a community officer, and a requirement of that job. Back in the days, she worked with Social Welfare Commission, and those days when you worked with government, you got transferred all over the place at a moment's notice, and you just had to go. So because I was with her, wherever she went, I had to go. So as a result, I was all over the place. I only settled when we went to Westmoreland, and there she had gotten some level of seniority now, so she could send her own people rather than having to go herself. So Manning's, therefore, and Savlamar became my home. So if people ask me my influence, it would have been Westmoreland more than anywhere else.
Because that's where you spent most of your early years.
Right.
And that involvement you're talking about, your mother right there working with the Social Development Commission,
right,
involved, though you do not necessarily credit it for your involvement in theatre, but also involves theatre. How so?
It did involve theatre. As a community development officer, her remit was anything to do with community development. And part of the role then was to ensure that part of education, not only literacy, but that norms, values, the desired values that was deemed positive and uplifting, part of transmitting that to the communities was through drama. So she herself was a director, and she had to mobilize the community, get them into literacy, get them into encouraging people to not have children before they get married and all those and those things were transmitted by way of plays.
So you would have been seeing plays at home, for instance, rehearsals.
I was able to see plays quite early. In fact, most of the scripts came down from the Social Development Commission, and those days that department was headed by Easton Lee. So Easton Lee wrote those scripts that were disseminated in the communities. So maybe from 9, 10, I was reading those kinds of scripts because they were just available, thrown down in the house, and I read them. But I never actually participated, nor I found theater and drama and those things to be kind of sissy. Football and cricket better.
Even though she was saying at the point, get involved in this because you're way too reserved, you didn't do that when you were at Manning's.
No.
What were you involved in?
No, mostly nothing. I'm mostly too shy to do anything. Plus, one of the things I'm looking back now and realizing that I was not able to participate in many things because as school was over, I had to be transported to wherever we were. So, extracurricular was a problem. I did play some amount of football, though, which I enjoyed. But she never insisted that I actually participated in the community things that she did. I guess she was afraid of people saying that she put in her son in the lead role and thing. And then I wasn't really interested, really.
At the same time, you've spoken a lot about your mother. Where is your father? How was he in the picture?
Well, that is a long program, My father, I never met my father until I think I was about 54. I grew up all along 54. Not having to 54. Deal with the father. Yeah, man, I thought he was dead. I don't know if I was told that or I just vicariously learned that, but I never knew about him until when I went my first day at Manning's. First day at Manning's when teacher had to fill out parents' information and so on and so forth. And the form teacher asked me my father's name. First, I realized I have a father and I'm supposed to have a name. Never had any idea.
Wow.
So I went home. It was a terrible day. My first day at Manning's was terrible because by lunchtime, everybody know about this student who don't know his father's name. So, you easily become the popular laughing stock for the day. So, when I went home, I told my mother, and she never said anything. I couldn't sleep the night because the teacher kind of warned me that I have to bring the information the following day. And just before the bus came the following morning, she slipped something, a piece of paper in my hand, and I saw that she was crying. When I got it, and I looked and I saw it was my father's name. I see a Dawkins, so I figured that the name must be a father's name. So I went to school and that became history. I still was popular for another few weeks as a guy who never knew his father.
You went on, though, to have a wonderful relationship, with
yeah, man, eventually. Well, incidentally, when I did my first play back in 1980, yes. Flatmate, by then, there's a level of popularity kind of attended me. I wouldn't regard it, but, press releases and things, people know the name. A lady went to him and inquired, and she set up for us to meet. And I put on my nice clothes and went to a restaurant in Uptown, Half a Tree. Beautiful, I can't remember the restaurant name, but I waited and waited. Him don't come here to touch it.
So it almost sounds, when you share this story, it almost sounds like drama and theater itself. So I want to spend a bit of time after the break talking about that moment with Basil Dawkins. What was that moment like to meet his father, and how did he get involved in theater overall and move on to have this really prolific career? You are watching Profile. Please stick around.